This webinar. My name is Ruchika Agarwal Bhatija. I am the head counselor at the Princeton Reviews Corpus. Today we are presenting the webinar on specifically medicines in UK and the standardized test required for UK medicines. My colleague Puneet Jain, he will going to share the insight on both UCAT and BMAT examinations with you, and will share his strategies on cracking the score on these two tests. And then I will be covering the medicines in UK in detail. Puneet, over to you.
Hello, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. So my name is Puneet and I take care of the math section and reasoning section of the standardized exams. So today we will be covering in detail about UCAT and BMAT exam. What is the exam structure and more details about the question and the strategies to crack the exam. So let's start with the next slide. So first we will cover what is the UCAT exam, the pattern, and BMAT exam, the pattern, where it is used, what is the duration, which sections are there. Then we will be covering some sample problems and the strategies used by Scopeless to solve it faster. And at the last, we will tell you about the class structure and all. Next slide. So coming to the first exam, which is UCAT. So next slide. Ruchika, yeah. So UCAT, which was earlier called as UK CAT, it is basically University Clinical Aptitude Test, and which is used for admission into the UK universities for medical and dental programs. This is a computer-based test which is organized by Princeton Review in UK and internationally, and you can take it only once a year. So only one time it can be taken, unlike SAT, which you can take 4 times. And the score is valid only to that specific academic year. So if you are giving in 2020 the UCAT, then it will be applicable for 2021 admission cycle. The good thing about the exam is there is no negative marking at all. So you should answer all the questions. The one you know how to solve, you can answer, and the remaining you should guess. So because there is no negative marking. The total duration of the exam is 2 hours, and it has 5 sections involved. The first section, verbal reasoning. In verbal reasoning, you will be getting 44 questions and time limit 22 minutes. 1 minute is for the instruction and the remaining 21 minutes for solving the section. The next you have, that is decision making. You will have 29 questions and the time limit 32 minutes. Again, 1 minute for instruction and 31 minutes to solve it. Then you have quantitative reasoning. You will have 36 questions and time limit 25 minutes. 1 minute is for instruction and the remaining 24 for solving. Then abstract reasoning, 55 questions and 14 minutes, including the 1 minute instruction. And the last, situation judgment, 69 questions and time limit 27 minutes, including the 1 minute for instruction. So we will go into the details for each section. Let's start with verbal reasoning. Next slide. Now, verbal reasoning, it basically assesses your ability to read and think carefully. So they will be testing you on passage. The reading comprehension has to be good. So they will give you 11 passages of text, and each passage will have 4 questions along with it. So total 44 questions you will have. And I said 22 minutes time limit with 1 minute for instruction and 21 minutes to solve. Coming to the next decision making section. So they will give you conclusion, argument, and arrangements and sets, Venn diagram. So the time limit is 32 minutes with 1 minute instruction and the number of questions 29. Next slide. Then you have quantitative reasoning. In quantitative reasoning, they will have number-based questions, and it will involve the use of tables, bar graph, pie chart, line chart along with that. The number of questions 36 questions, and the time limit 25 minutes, including 1 minute for the instruction. And then you have abstract reasoning, which is based on the figure. So it will be figure-based reasoning. So 55 questions and 14 minutes. Next slide. And the last, situation judgment, they will give you a real world situation and they will ask you to identify which is the appropriate response for that. So 69 questions will be there and the time limit will be 27 minutes. Next slide. Coming to the scoring of the UCAT exam. So UCAT is marked on the number of correct answers you give. Since there is no negative marking, so for every correct answer you will be marked and for incorrect you will get 0. So you should answer all the questions. Now, it is not adaptive in nature. That means your performance of one question won't decide the question for the next section because the questions are fixed, so it's not adaptive. How it is scored? So raw score for each section is on a scale of 300 to 900. So minimum is 300 and maximum 900 for the 4 sections, which is verbal reasoning, decision making, quantitative reasoning, and abstract reasoning. The one situation judgment will have a separate scoring, which I will come to later. In 2019, the total score was in the range of 1200 to 3600, excluding the situation judgment section. Next slide. So that gives you the breakup for each section. Verbal reasoning, as I told you, 44 questions, 11 passages. Score range 300 to 900, minimum 300, maximum 900. And each question is worth 1 mark. So you will get 1 point for each correct answer. Then decision making, they will give you 29 questions. The score range is same, 300 to 900. If you have question with 1 correct answer, that's worth 1 mark. But if you have question with multiple statement, that'll be worth 2 marks. And if you get partially correct answer in the multiple statement, you will get 1 mark for that. Then quantitative reasoning, again 300 to 900, and each question is worth of 1 mark. And the last, abstract reasoning, 55 questions, and the score range again 300 to 900. Questions are worth 1 mark. So if you add all of them, the total score is in the range of 1200 to 3600. So minimum 1200 and maximum 3600. Next slide. And situational judgment is separately graded. So based on your response of the situation judgment, they will give you band. Like you might get band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, depending on your performance. So you will get band 1 if you show an excellent level of performance. That means your response are very closer to the response given by the experts. Then band 2, that will demonstrate a good level of performance. Band 3, which is like average. And the last band 4, which is low. That is very far away from the ideal response which you should have given. So all 4 sections, 1200 to 3600, and situational judgment will be separate. Band 1, 2, 3, or 4. Next slide. Now coming to the test score statistics. So the number of students who gave the exam in year 2019 were 29,375 all over the world. And their scores are mentioned below, the average scores. So the average score in the verbal reasoning for all these 29,000 candidates was 565 out of 900. Decision making was 618 out of 900. Quantitative reasoning was 662 out of 900, and abstract reasoning 638 out of 900. And if you take the total, like overall score, the average was 2,483. So 2483 out of 3600. So this is the average, 2483. Now coming to the percentile, like the top scores, if you see the right column, the bottommost 9th which is 2800. 2800, that is 90 percentile. So percentile basically means how many percent of students are below your marks. So that means top 10% students, they have the score of 2800. So if you have a score in the range of 2800, then that's a very good, excellent score, like a top score. Then going below 80 percentile, 2690, 70 percentile, 2610, like that. And the average is 2480. So if you have above 2480, that's average. But if you want a good score, that should be above 2600. And situation judgment section is separately graded. So out of the total 29,000 students, band 1, which is the excellent one, only 17% of students got band 1. So which is like 1/5 approx. These students, they got excellent performance. Then the band 2, 40%. So 40% students, they got band 2, which is like average. Then 33% they got band 3, and then band 4. Next slide. Now, coming to the exam dates for year 2020, there is nothing final till now for 2020 due to COVID-19, but we can check from year 2019. They might postpone or delay, but it's not final till now. So in 2019, the registration started in 1st May 2019, and the testing started in July 2019. The last testing date was 2nd October 2019. So you had to take the test between 1st July 2019 to 2nd October 2019. And the result automatically goes to the university in early November 2019. And your application deadline to the universities was 15th October 2019. Coming to the exam fees, so the UCAT exam fee, as you can see, if you take the exam between 1st July to 31st August, that was €55. And if you take between 1st September to 2nd September, October, then it was more because you are taking it late. So €80. And if you take it outside EU, like if you take in Dubai, Bahrain, or then you have to pay €115. But for year 2020, they have not finalized the fees and the dates. Next slide. Coming to the results. So when you leave the test center, you will get the score report. So as soon as you finish the test in the computer, you will get the score report right away. Like you might have 2500, 2400, you'll get to know right away. And it will be also accessible online through your Pearson account. This will be uploaded 24 hours after you finish the test. Now do remember the 2020 results are valid for 2021 admission cycle only. So the score is valid only for 1 year, that academic cycle. So if you target the next, then you have to give it again. Next slide. So coming to the strategies which Scopeless will teach you to solve faster. So the first section, as I told you, quantitative reasoning. On-screen calculator is allowed. So you can see on the right, the image of the calculator they will give you in the exam online. You will learn more tricks here, like plugging in the answer, estimation, keep plugging away. And you will be having topic-wise shortcuts. So some questions might be on percentage or ratio or weighted average. You will be given specific formulas for that and how you can apply it directly. So let's take an example of percentage multiplying factor. So I ask all of you, if there is a value, let's say 200, and I do 20% increase on that. 220% increase. So what will be the final value? You can write in the chat.
240.
All right. So I got one answer as 240. Now, if you do it manually, then it will take a lot of time. If you see how much percent increase, 20%. So you just need to remember this formula, 1 plus x over 100. So 1 plus 20 over 100, 20 over 100.2, 1 plus 0.2, 1.2. Multiply by your value 200, so that'll give you the corresponding 240. So this kind of trick you can apply if the numbers are in multiples of 100 or like that. Then comparing ratios. So let's say if I have A and B, the ratio is 3:4, and B and C, the ratio is 5:6. And I ask you, what is the combined ratio of A, B, and C? So can you tell me what will be the corresponding ratio of all three? Anyone? You can write in the chat or you can answer. You can make a guess. Maximum it will be wrong. There is no penalty or something. All right. Yeah. What's the answer?
So for A to B to C, it's 33, 44, and 42.
33, 44, and 42. Unfortunately, that's wrong, but I'll tell you how to solve it faster. So if you see A and B 3, 4, B and C 5, 6. So the shortcut says what you have to do to find for A, multiply the first of 3 and the first of 5. So 3 times 5. So 3 times 5, that'll give you 15. For B, take both of B's. So 4 and 5. So 4 times 5, that'll give you 20. And for C, take the last of 2's. So 4 and 6. So 4 times 6 will give you 24. So the answer will be 3 into 5, 15. The next 4 into 5, 20. And the next 4 into 6, 24. So 15, 20, 24. So that's how you can compare and combine the ratios faster. Then you will learn more tricks on, let's say, weighted average. So if I combine two groups, let's say one group has a number of students, let's say N1, and their average is, let's say, A1, combined with another group number N2 and the average A2. So if you combine the whole group, both together, what will be the final average? So that is given by A1 times N1 plus A2 times N2 and whole divided by N1 plus N2. So you can just plug the numbers as it is and you will get the corresponding answer. So these kinds of tricks you will be learning. Now next slide. So they will give you the data and quantitative reasoning in various forms. They can give you bar graph, which is like this, 2 bars together. They can give you line chart, they will compare the 2 line charts, or they can give you a pie chart, or they can give you a simple table. So they will combine these data with the topic. They can include percentage, they can include average, and then they will ask you to calculate. Next slide. Yeah. So now this is the question which is in the UCAT official guide, which is exact same level which you will get in the actual exam. So they will give you a table like this, and based on one table you will have either 4 to 5 questions. So you have to see the table and then correspondingly you have to answer the questions. So let's try to solve one. Try to solve QR21, the first one. All of you please try, and you can write the answer or you can tell it. Please try to solve.
D.
Okay, so I got one answer as D. Any other option? Okay, I got 70.4. Unfortunately, there is no option of 70.4. All right, A, B, C, like these options. So the correct answer is C. Let's see how do you solve. So first of all, what they're saying of the adults in the group. So adults, that means you just have to take men and women. You don't have to take girls and boys and other. What percentage correct to 1 decimal place can taste PTC? Okay. So first of all, tell me how many total they can taste PTC. So let's try to add the PTC. Or 1 minute. They're asking for men and women. Okay, so how many men and women are there total? Women 35 plus 20 and men 72 plus 60. So if you add all four, you will get 187. So I'm writing in the chat box, that will give you 187. Now out of 187, how many are there who can taste PTC? So how many can taste PTC? 35 plus 72. So that gives you 107, right? Now 107 is what percentage of 187? That's right, Rose. That's 107 over 187, and then you have to do multiply by 100. So your on-screen calculator is there. You can put in the on-screen calculator and you will get the answer as 57.2, which is C. So that's how you can solve. Let's try one more. Try solving QR22. Try solving QR22. So see the data, what they have, and read the question properly, what they're asking. Based on that, you have to answer. So try QR22, the second one.
Actually, what is this?
Yeah, QR22. Try the second one.
No, I'm asking actually, what is this?
Okay, so this is based on the table. So if you read the question, 3 by 5 of the women who can taste PTC and 7 by 12 of the men who can taste PTC do not drink coffee. Out of them, how many adults can drink coffee? So based on the table, you have to pick the numbers which they are asking and then find the percentage. Try solving by yourself, then we will discuss. Previous slide, yeah. So we got two answers. One is A, one is D, and one more D. But all of you are wrong till now. The correct answer is, yeah, Ayman is right. B for boy. Ayman and Janine is right. Okay, let's try to solve. So first read the question. 3 by 5 of women who can taste PTC. All right. So you have to pick women who can taste PTC. Take 3 by 5 of that. Then 7 by 12 of men who can taste PTC. So you have to take men and 7 by 12 of those men who can taste PTC. So these people do not drink coffee. So what percentage of the adults who can taste PTC do not drink coffee? So what I'll try to do first, I'll try to calculate the numbers. 3 by 5 of women who can taste PTC. So women who can taste PTC is 35. You have to take 3 by 5 of 35. You have on-screen calculator, so you calculate, you will get 21. Then the next 7 by 12 of men who can taste PTC do not drink coffee. So you have to take 7 by 12 of men who can taste PTC. Men who can taste PTC is how much? 72. So you have to take 7 by 12 of 72, which will give you 42. Now add both 42 plus 21, that will give you how much? 63. So this is the required number who do not drink coffee. So this is what portion of the total adults. So total adults who can taste PTC is how much? 35 and 72. So do 35 plus 72 like this. 63 divided by 35 plus 72. So that'll give you the percentage. But now what you have to do, 100 minus this answer, because they're asking for the people who drink coffee. So 100 minus that answer you got, that'll give you 41.1%. So the answer is B for boy. So first you have to calculate who do not drink coffee and then subtract 100. 100 minus that answer will give you the corresponding. So this way you can solve with the quantitative reasoning. So they will give you data in the form of tables, bar graph, pie chart, and they will give you 4 to 5 questions based on that. Then you have to try. Let's try the next slide. Yeah, next section is decision making. So in decision making, they will test you on linear arrangement, like sitting in a line, or circular arrangement, sitting around the circular table. Data inference, same like bar chart, pie chart, bar graph, Venn diagram, based on the like 15 people drink coffee, 20 people drink tea, 5 people drink both, and how many drink none of them. So like that. Argument conclusion, they will give you corresponding assumption conclusion, and the last syllogism, like no A or B, all A's are B, like that. Next slide. So this is again from the official guide. So exact questions you will get in your UCAT exam. Try solving first DM1. On the left side, DM1, try solving that. Read the question carefully and then try to answer the correct statement. Fix the places according to the statement and then answer which is the correct statement, A, B, C or D. So anyone, any answer you have got, you can write in the chat. Even if it is wrong, we will discuss, don't worry. Any answer, anyone? Make a guess, A, B, C or D. All right, let's try to solve. So the first statement, Mr. Nunn sits fifth from the left, with Mrs. Rourke and Percival on the either side. So when you count from the left, the fifth position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here who is sitting? None. So you can write N here. Now on the left side, Rourke, that means R is there. So obviously on the right side, P will be there. So what will be the order? R and then N and then P. So these 3 seats are fixed. Yeah, you got correct answer. A is the right answer. The next, Rowlett sits as far as possible from Rourke. So he might be on the left, extreme left or extreme right. If you count the number of positions from extreme left, 1, 2, 3, but extreme right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So which is more far? Extreme right. So the extreme right will be occupied by Rowlett. Then Stephen next to Percival, so on the other side of Percival, right side. and Zanzibar will come on this side. So first will be Zanzibar. So what will be the order? Z, then Wallach, then Prologue, then Rourke, then Nunn, then Percival, then Stephen, and then Rowley. So this will be your order. So let's read the statements. A statement, Zenza sits at the far left of the row. That's right, because the extreme left is occupied by Zenza. That's correct. So automatically you don't have to check B, C, D. A is right. So that means you can solve. Try the next two, DM14 and DM15. Try the two questions, DM14 and DM15. So write your answer for DM14. So Shravan answered C. Any other? Hiba also C. Yeah, C is the right answer. So first you see the diagram and then go to the statements. So statement A, more people went to France than they went to the Spain. So France total how many? 8 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4. When you add all of them, you will get 15. Spain how many? 6, 4, 2, 3. So that is wrong. Similarly, B will be wrong, but C, exactly 2 countries. So exactly 2 is 4, 1, 3. 2 won't be coming in exactly 2 because it is 3. So 4, 1 and 3. So if you add them, 4 plus 3 plus 1. 4 plus 3 plus 1, so that'll give you 8. So that's the correct answer. 8 people went to exactly 2 countries. So C is the right answer. Try the next, DM15. Use the same logic, eliminating the wrong option, A, B, C, or D. Check it and eliminate the wrong one. Yeah, that's right. A is the correct answer. So if you read the statements, what they're saying, 12 people, of which 4 also played snooker, played table tennis. 9 people played darts. None of this plays either snooker or table tennis. So check which option has a circle of 9 and it should not be intersecting with any other circle. So if you check A, yeah, that fits in. Check B, there is circle of 9, no, gone. C, circle of 9, no. D, circle of 9, yeah, but it is intersecting with other circles, so D also up. So the correct answer is A. So that's how you can solve the decision making. Next slide. Then comes abstract reasoning. So they will give you figure-based reasoning. There will be 4 types of questions. Type 1, they will give you 2 sets of boxes and the associated, which you have to find it out, A, B, C, or next type 2, they will give you series of shapes and you will be asked to select the next shape of the series. Type 3, they will present you with the statement involving the group of shape and then you have to find the next which completes that. And type 4, they will give you set A, set B. You have to find the 4 response which matches the 2 sets. In this type of question, you have to focus on SPONGS. What is the SPONGS? S stands for shape, P for position, O for orientation, N for number, C for color, S for size. So first you have to keep in mind shape, whether it's circle, square, triangle, position, where it is coming, the top left, top bottom, or bottommost, Orientation, how is it oriented? Clockwise, anti-clockwise, number. How many figures are there corresponding to the same shape? Then color, whether it's black or white or gray, and size. So small or it increased like that. Next slide. So based on that, try the two sets. First try the top one, AR5. So they have given you 4 figures on the top. You have to find the next figure which completes it. A, B, C, or D. So I got one answer as D. Okay, try the next one also, AR6. We will discuss both. So let's first discuss the AR5. AR5, the correct answer, that's D. So most of you got it right. How do you see that? If you see the first shape, check the square with the black color. First it is on the top, next figure it's in the middle, next figure it's on the bottom. The next again it is on the top. So in the next it should come in the middle. So check which option middle. A and B goes out. So either it is C or it is D. Now how do you eliminate C or D? You have to check the right one. So on the right, if you check, you have the top which is gray color. Then next it goes a bit down, next it goes again down, next it goes on the left. So next the gray square will go on the top, which is in D. So D is the right answer. So that's how you can solve the abstract reasoning. Then AR6, what will be the answer for AR6? If you see AR6, this is of type 2 where you have to check the similarity. So if you check the similarity, the correct answer is D, that's right. They're saying one figure is to this, so the next figure is to what? So check the similarity. If you check in the first, the figure on the left top, you have a square and circle inside. And the next figure to the right, that square inside circle goes to the right side. So whichever is on left will go to the right. So the below figure, you have a diamond. So this diamond on the left will go diamond in the right. So diamond in the right, that means either it is C or it is D. What is the difference C and D? Square and circle. So just check in the first figure square, it changed to circle. So the second figure square will change to circle. So that's D. So that's how you can solve the abstract reasoning. So based on the figure given, you have to find the next slide. Then verbal reasoning, they will give you passage based. The passage will be around 200 to 300 words and only one correct option out of the 4 options. But there will be one more type, true, false, or you can't tell. So that also will be passage based. Let's see 1 or 2 of that kind. Next slide. Yeah, so this is VR passage based question. They will give you a big passage. Based on that, you will have questions. So try to solve one VR11, the first question. Try to solve the first one. Okay, so we got answer B and D. The correct answer is D for doll. D is the correct answer. So how do you solve? Read what they are asking. The book, which is named as The Blind Watchmaker, is appropriate. Why? So eliminate the wrong ones. No watchmaker is blind. There's nothing mentioned like that. So that's wrong. Structure of living things cannot be explained. That's correct, but it's not relevant to the titles. That's wrong. C, supreme being must be blind. That also is inappropriate. The last, natural selection does not depend on intelligent designer. That's right. Because you have to check for the intelligent designer. So the title is correct. So the answer will be D for dog. So this way you will have the verbal reasoning questions. Let's go to the next section. Situation judgment. So you will have two kinds of questions. One is appropriateness question and the other one importance question. In appropriateness, you will have to answer one out of the four response. Either very appropriate thing to do, appropriate but not ideal, inappropriate but not awful, and very inappropriate. So based on the situation, you have to pick the correct answer. And importance questions, you will have to answer either it is very important, important, of minor importance, or not important at all. So next slide. Yeah, this is situation judgment, exact question which you will get in UCAT exam. You have to read the situation given. Based on that, you will have to try the forces. So read the question and then try to answer SJ61. So try to answer the first one. Okay, we got one answer as A. Any other option? One more answer, A. B. So we got option A and B. The correct answer is B for boy. Why is it that? Let's read the question first. The consultation is taking place between consultant and patient. So you have a consultant and one patient, and there is one medical student who is observing, so under training. The consultant tells that the patient requires some blood test to rule out a terminal disease. So he has to go under some test. Then consultant is called away urgently, so he leaves, and medical student is alone with the patient. Now the patient tells the student that he's worried, he's going to die, and asks the student what will be the blood test. So what will be the response? So SJ61, what it is saying, explain to the patient that he is unable to comment on what the test will show as he is a medical student. So this is appropriate because obviously he doesn't know, but it is not ideal. The ideal will be when he gets to know the test result. So the correct answer will be B. Next, try one more, SJ62. Try SJ62. Okay, we got one option B. Any other option for SJ62? A. All right. The correct answer is A. What they're saying, acknowledge the patient concern and ask whether he would like them to be raised with the consultant. That's the very appropriate thing to do because he doesn't have the right to comment on that. He has to ask with the consultant. So the correct answer A. Let's try one more, SJ63. Try SJ63. Yeah, B is the right answer. Again, it is appropriate, but it is not ideal because he has to consult with the consultant. Then SJ64, the last one, what is the answer? SJ64. B is wrong for SJ64. The correct answer for SJ64 is D for doll. Why? Tell the patient that he should not worry and that it is unlikely that he'll die. This is wrong. He doesn't know what the result will be, and based on the result, he might die or he might not die. So the consultant will be the correct person to tell. So in this case, this is very inappropriate thing. He should say, wait for the consultant to come and then he will tell. So the correct answer is D. So that's how you can solve the situation judgment questions. So this is all about the UCAT exam. Let's go to the next exam. Next slide. Okay, so the class structure that we will discuss in the end. So you will get for each section 2 classes, 2.5 hours each for all the 5 sections. Next slide. Now coming to the exam BMAT. So BMAT, the full form is Biomedical Admission Test. This is aptitude test and it is used for medicine admission into UK, Europe and Asia. UCAT is only for the UK, but BMAT also you can see it is applicable to other countries, medicine and dentistry also. UCAT was computer based, but BMAT is a paper based test. So you have to do pen and paper based. The BMAT exam it is held in February, September, November, depending on which country you are applying. So you have to check the country and the university and they are taking which one, February or September or November. The total exam duration is same of UCAT, so it is 2 hours. Unlike UCAT where you have 5 sections, in BMAT you will have only 3 sections, 1, 2, 3. And same like the UCAT, you have to take BMAT only once in the year and it will be applicable to the same year admission cycle. Like if you take 2020, it will be applicable to 2021. So you have 3 sections. The first section, aptitude and skills. Second section, scientific knowledge and application. And the third is writing tasks. So let's go over each section one by one. First, aptitude and skills, which is thinking skill. So this is of 60-minute 1 hour duration. Again, the questions are multiple choice, only one option correct. Calculator may not be used. In UCAT, you can use the on-screen calculator, but in BMAT, on-screen calculator or offline calculator is not there. Total number of questions you will get is 32. These are in 2 parts. Part A, which is problem solving, 16 questions, and part B, problem critical thinking. In problem solving, what you will be getting, same like quantitative reasoning like that. So data-based questions, and they will involve numbers, arithmetic or algebra into that. Then part B, which is same like the decision-making section, where you will have critical reasoning like assumption, conclusion, and set-based questions, figure-based reasoning. So that's part A and part B. 16 questions in each section. Next slide. So that was section 1. Now coming to section 2. In UCAT, they don't test you on subject-wise knowledge. Like even if you are applying for medicine, they won't test you on bio or chemistry like that. But in BMAT, they will test you on the subject-wise knowledge. So the section 2, it has 30-minute duration and the number of questions are 27. And there is no negative marking in section 2. So even if you don't know the answer, you should guess. So part A, you will have biology, which will have 7 questions and they will test you on these topics. Cells, membrane, inheritance, DNA, gene, enzymes like that. Again, multiple choice and only one correct option. Then you will have part B, which is chemistry. And again, number of questions are 7 and they will test you on atomic structure, periodic table, chemical reaction, oxidation reduction, acid base, energetics, all of these topics which you have studied till grade 10. And then physics. So which is part C. The number of questions will be 7, and they will test you on electricity, magnetism, mechanics, thermal physics, like that. Basic questions will be there, but you have to study all the topics to get it right. And the last part D, which is mathematics. So number of questions 6, and which will be having units, number, ratio, proportion, geometry, stats, probability, basic level. Next slide. Then you have section 3, which is writing tests. So they will give you 30 minutes, and you have to pick any one of the 3. So either they can give you the first one, which is explanation of the proposition, or the second one, where you have to generate a counter argument for the statement which they have given. Or you have to do reconciliation of the two sides. So you have to combine the two opposition to get a final answer. So this is, they will give you A4 size page, and you have to write it using the black pen. Next slide. How scoring is done in BMAT. In UCAT, the maximum score was 3600 with situation judgment separate bands. But in BMAT, section 1 and section 2 scores, they will grade. So they have a raw score, they will convert to scale score on a scale of 9 point. So minimum is 1 and the maximum is 9. Average is around 5 out of that. And if you have above 7, then it's an excellent score. Above 6 is a good score. So target above 7 to get in the section 1 and section 2. Then section 3, which is writing task, they will give you 2 points in that. One score is for the quality of content, which is on a scale of 0 to 5, with 5 as the excellent and 0 as the lowest. And one for your quality of written English on the scale of A to C to E. And A is the good use of English and E is the worst use of English, like that. So you will get 2 points in that. Now, coming back to the previous slide. So BMAT results are generally issued 3-4 weeks after the test has taken place. In UCAT, you will get it instantaneously, the printout of the score, but BMAT 3-4 weeks will be there. And the scores are sent to the institution automatically. Next slide. This is about the pricing. So if you see here within the UE, European Union, the price is 49 or 69 depending on which date you are taking. And outside EU, it is 83, 115, 123, depending which month you are taking, February, September, November.
Puneet, your voice is gone. Puneet, you there?
Ruchika, next slide.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, so now I'll ask Ruchika to take over and she will tell you more about the admissions counseling for medicine in the respective locations. Yeah, Ruchika, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Hi everyone again. So in last presentation, we have discussed the medicines program across the globe. And today we are covering up specifically the UK as a destination to study medicines program. Each country is having their own specific requirements, how they look at the applications. So getting an in-depth understanding of UK would be the agenda of this webinar. In this webinar, we will going to cover the different entry levels and admission requirement. And we also cover what medical colleges look at, along with the application process and the timeline for the same. In my last webinar also, I have covered and shared this statistic with you, wherein I have taken out the ranking of top 100 medical colleges across the globe. This ranking is, this data is as per QS ranking, wherein you can see that most of the universities in QS ranking is from USA, followed by the UK. And there are other countries as well in Europe, like Switzerland, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, and there are other Asian countries as well, along with Australia. So this is the data which showcase that which all countries are popular amongst the students to study medicines program. Let's have a look at the medicines entry points in UK. There are different level of educations. Standard entry medicines, standard level entry medicine. So this is a regular medicines program, which is usually a 5 years long. But in some institution, it is 6 as well, based on what kind of structure they follow. As per 2019 update, there are 37 medical colleges offering medicines program. And out of 37, there are most of the medical colleges open for international students. But when it comes to the graduate entry program, this is the program to application from those who already have a bachelor's degree. Many universities accept a degree in any subject, but some require the previous degree in sciences or health related program. It is a 4 years accelerated degree in most of the cases, but some universities again, they are in 5 years course as well. The challenge here is that unlike standard entry medicines, there are only 15 colleges offering graduate entry medicines. And out of 15 colleges, only 8 colleges are there who are offering graduate entry medicines to the international students. The next entry point is medicines with a preliminary year. This course takes the form of a 5-year standard entry medicine with an additional years at a start, making a 6 years course. This course is designed for those who achieved highly at A level or equivalent, but who did not take the required sciences subjects. This is an extra year, gives students the necessary science training to catch up, and it is not a mean of boosting the grades of those who do not meet the entry requirement of a standard entry medicine. So this preliminary year is basically not for you to go ahead if in case the university is not accepting you because of your academic grades. It is because if in case you are lacking behind some kind of science subjects in your curriculum. Medicines with a gateway year. These medical degrees are designed for those who are high ability but who may be coming from a situation wherein they have had barriers to their learning. The course can take this into account in different ways, for instance, by using adjusted criteria to change the entry requirement for the applicant from low participation area. Often these are 6-year courses, with the first year being a foundation year. Some schools offer a standalone foundation year, which allows the progression onto a standard medicine course. So when you are applying to the UK universities, you have to see that which university is offering which program, and is that program is available for international students, and what is the entry requirement for that particular program, and then accordingly shortlist your universities. This is the data wherein we can see the acceptance rate of medical schools. So only 40% of applications are accepted in medical colleges, and those 40%, it's a combination of the EU students and non-EU students. So if you're applying for medicines program, the competition would be really high. Let's check out the parameters on which the universities or medical colleges assess your application. The first and foremost part is the academics. They will going to see what grades you get, what courses you have taken, which classes you have taken, how much challenge you have taken or doing an additional courses, and in which curriculum you are. Because based on your curriculum, university further defines what kind of other things they will going to consider in your application. For example, if you are from American curriculum, then the university may ask you to go ahead with SAT 1 test and some SAT subject test as well. The second point is personal statement. This is the most important factor in your application, because this is the only essay or statement which you are presenting in front of the university, showcasing your interest to pursue medicines program. We will going to continue with this personal statement in detail, that what exactly university is looking for that you should add in your personal statement to make it a strong application. The third one is admission test. All the universities in UK are either asking for UCAT or BMAT exam. BMAT exam is comparatively asked by lesser number of universities. UCAT is mostly asked by the universities, but for example, the top university like Cambridge, they ask for BMAT exam. So again, check the admission test which is required by the universities. Shortlist the university, see if you can take both the test or you are aiming for one test, because based on that you will aim for the universities. Letter of recommendation. Universities will be asking you to provide one letter of recommendation. It could be from your subject teacher or whatever you feel will help boosting your application. So that letter of recommendation will be submitted by your teacher online itself. Interviews are the most important part of the medicines program application, because almost all the universities conduct the interviews. There are different types of interviews which are conducted by different universities, which we'll again going to cover in the following slides. But interviews, after university shortlists your application, then they ask the student to have an interview round. And based on your interview round performance, they will going to decide that they will going to give you the admission or not. Work experience. Work experience is also a criteria, but it is very important for us as an high school student to understand that what work experience they're asking for, because it is not easy for you to get a part-time job or maybe paid, unpaid internship. So we will cover up that what kind of work experience universities will going to consider. Let's start with the core values and the attributes which, sorry. I'm so sorry. So there are some core values and attributes which universities are looking at, medical colleges specifically are looking at, and they want you to showcase in your application in some way or the other these core values and attributes. So what the medical colleges have done is they have divided core values in 4 domains, and we will going to see that what these domains are. So domain 1 is about knowledge, skills and performance. That means first thing is that they develop and maintain your professional performance. They will see that how you develop and maintain your professional performance, which is wherein applicable skills and attributes would be commitment, motivation and genuine interest to study medicines program, insight and reflection, personal organization. So these are the skills and attributes which will showcase that how you develop and maintain your personal performance. You will learn at medical school the theoretical and practical knowledge needed to become a doctor. However, it is important that a doctor are lifelong learners. who are committed to providing their patients with excellent care based at the latest finding in medical sciences. Therefore, medical schools will be looking for the applicant who has shown a commitment to self-improvement and motivation to become a doctor. They will also be looking for the student who display a genuine interest in the medical profession. In order to keep up to the update and to improve standard of care they provide to patients, doctors need to be able to reflect honesty on their own participant in order to identify aspects that could be improved. Because of these requirements, medical schools are looking for the students who have insight into their own capabilities and who will be able to reflect honesty on their own performance, including any weakness during the course. Medicine is a demanding career, and balancing the need to keep up to update with a heavy workload require a heavy level of organization ability. Medical schools look at for the evidence for an applicant ability to organize and manage their own time. So this is how we will going to cover up the core values and how these domains are and what are the skills and attributes required to showcase these skills and domains. So each aspect which university is asking for is defined because of certain purpose. And that's what the purpose which we have to understand while submitting our applications for medicines program. The second part is the apply knowledge and experience to practice, which cover ups, the skills which showcase this is your academic ability, your problem solving, dealing with uncertainty, resilience and ability to deal with difficult situation. So by sharing the example on these particular skills, you will able to showcase the university that you apply knowledge and experience to the practice. Why they ask for? Medicine is an intellectual demanding career. Doctor needs to be able to apply their knowledge in a clinical setting, most particularly applying what they know to the patient in front of them. Patients often have complex medical needs or a range of different medical conditions that can impact on each other. Something the best course of action is not immediately clear to a doctor treating a patient. In this instance, the doctor has to manage this uncertainty and apply their knowledge to find a solution. That's why medical school will be looking for academic ability and aptitude for problem solving based on scientific principles at the point of selection and for evidence of resilience to cope with the demanding career. Last in knowledge, skills and performances, record your work clearly, accurately and legibly, which is further defined by the skills of effective communication in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The documents that doctor need to complete, such as prescription and patient records, must be accurate and legible. If they are not, then there is a potential for patient to be harmed. Therefore, medical school requires a basic level of written English skills from their applicant and the other skills as well, which is required to treat a patient. Now let's look at to the second domain, which is safety and quality. The safety and quality is further divided into contribute and comply with the systems to protect patients, which can be attributed through the skills which are managing risk and deal effectively with the problems. Doctors need to manage risk on daily basis, right? Patients with complex needs require doctors to apply their knowledge and to balance the risk involved in their different treatments, taking in account the patient views and ultimately ensuring their safety. At the point of entry to medical school, applicants will be expected to show aptitude for managing risk by showing they are able to balance competing needs and deal with the problem of non-clinical settings. The second part is, which is respond to risk to safety, which is covered by personal responsibility and conscientiousness. Again, when we talk about doctors, doctors must be open and honest when things are going or have gone wrong. Medical schools are looking for applicants who take responsibility for their own actions. Doctors have a responsibility to raise concern about patient safety, both at an individual and organization level. So therefore, medical schools are looking for applicants who are conscientiousness and have the potential to advocate for patient safety, even in a different circumstances. They are looking for applicants who take responsibilities for their own actions. The third part is covered by protect patients and colleagues from any risk possessed by your health, which is your health. Insight into your health is also important in the medicines profession. Medical professions, like all people, experience poor health. This is not problematic unless it impacts upon their ability to treat patient safety. This means that doctors need to have a high degree of awareness of the impact of their mental and physical ill health may have no patient, and also understand the importance of seeking and following independent advice from a medical practitioner. So this is why medical school ask applicant if they have any health condition or a disability at the point of entry of medical school. They need to ensure that students with health condition receive the support they need, and they have insight into the impact their condition might have on their ability to complete the course. It is crucial that applicants are open and honest about their health during the application process. Domain 3, which is communication, partnership, and teamwork. This is another important domain which showcases that how you would become a good doctor, which includes communicative effectively, which is again effective communication, work collaboratively with colleagues to maintain patient care, which is known as teamwork, which is again important, teaching, training, and assessing, which is again effective communication, establishing and maintaining partnership with patients. So ability to take responsibility of your action again, and consciousness again, continuity and coordination of care, ability to treat people with respect, effective communication, and empathy. These are the important aspects wherein the medical schools look at. So medical schools look for the evidence of good communication skills during the application process, with the understanding that their students will learn at medical school how to apply these skills in a clinical setting, in a different clinical situation. They also want to see that evidence that an applicant has the ability to be an effective team member is something medical schools look for during the admission process. Let's look at the domain 4. So it covers show respect for patients, which covers again ability to treat people, ability to take your responsibility of your own actions, empathy, treat patients and colleagues fairly and without discrimination, again ability to treat people with respect, effective communication, empathy, ability to take care of your responsibility of your own action, and act with honesty and integrity, which is honesty and again ability to take responsibility of your own action. Medical schools look for the applicants who display respect, personal responsibility, and empathy, as these are good indicators that the individual will be able to provide this type of care. They look for the evidence of respect for others, responsibility, integrity in potential students, as these qualities show an aptitude for providing care to this standard. So these are the domains under which universities will going to access your application. It is very important for us to, when we are writing our personal statement, when we are going for the interview, and when we are putting our application together in front of medical college, we must cover all these attributes through our various skills by giving certain examples. Now the key skills and attributes to use in personal statement. Herein I have sum up with all those domains and further subsections, what are the main attributes and skills needs to be covered in your personal statements. Let's have a look to it. So these are the things which are required for you to cover up in your personal statement by giving different examples to it. You may club 1, 2, or 3 skills together by defining one particular example, but these should be the core part of your personal statement. Academic ability, personal organization, problem solving, effective communication, dealing with uncertainty, teamwork, responsibility, conscientiousness, honesty, empathy, respect, and health, your own health. So if you write your personal statement considering all these factors, you will able to submit a good personal statement in front of the university. Now, we have discussed work experience. It's an important factor which is required for medical schools. So what exactly is the work experience? So work experience is any activity or any life experience that help you to prepare for medical college. This means any activity that allow you to demonstrate that you have had people focused experience of providing a service, care, or help to others, that you understand that realities of working in a caring profession, that you have developed some of the values, attitudes, and behavior essential to be a doctor, such as good communication skills and the ability to interact with a wide variety of people. Work experience is also that you have a realistic understanding of medicines, and in particular, the physical, organization, and emotional demand of a medical career. So in terms of medical colleges, this is what defines is the work experience. Work experience is not exactly going to medical healthcare centers and do some kind of internship or some kind of observation. It is also a part of it, but that's in total what universities are looking at as a work experience. Most of the UK medical schools look at the applicant work experience as part of selection process, but there is no minimum hours which is required. No specific type of work experience they have mentioned. So basically they have considered two basic type of experience, you can say: working with other people in a caring or service role, or in particular with people who are ill, disabled, or disadvantaged. That is actually strongly recommended. Or the second type is direct observation of healthcare. Because considering your age, the hospitals will not able to provide you any kind of part-time job or work in the hospitals or healthcare sector. So the mostly what you can get is the observation of healthcare sector. So these are the two basic types which the universities have divided into what work experience can be considered. Now, if you want to look at, you can gain caring experience, which is not paid or on volunteering basis in a number of different settings, including maybe care homes for the elderly, special need kids homes, or special schools, by volunteering to provide first aid or other kind of support services. Paid employment may be provided valuable work experience, but that is very difficult to get in. There are other all volunteer work you can provide helpful work experience, and there are different other sectors and healthcare services wherein you can gain this kind of work experience. Voluntary commitments to community group, for example, group related to work in churches, mosques, and temples, and other groups such as courts or guides may also provide value experience of taking and responsibility and dealing with people and communicating effectively. I would recommend don't keep on repeating the same type of work experience, because that will not help, because longer experience of working with the people in particular people who are ill, disabled, or disadvantaged. That holds more value. So if you are shadowing somebody and you are doing it repetitively, that actually will not help too much. Developing an understanding of medicine as a career is also essential. Students feel like that only gaining the experience, going to some medical healthcare sectors or doing some volunteering services is that only considered as work experience. But would like to share here that you have to gain the knowledge of what exactly the understanding of medicine's career is. So you can gain this by maybe talking to practicing students or doctors about their experience, and other forms of research you can do rather than by direct observation of healthcare sectors alone. Medical schools are looking for evidence that you can understand the role of the doctor and the value required to practice medicine. Therefore, it is important that you also keep on researching and understanding that what doctors have to take care of to practice as a medicines as a profession. An understanding of an undergraduate medical degree is also important and can be gained by talking to current medical students or junior doctors, as well as attending open days, courses, or workshops delivered by your local medical schools. So you can do that as well to develop more understanding, because this will going to eventually help you giving the examples in your personal statements on the skills which we have already covered. So these are the kind of work experience which you can look at. Now, the other important aspect of your applications, once you submit your application, the universities will ask you to come for the medical school interviews. So now we're going to cover what kind of types of medical school interviews are there. So in UK, there are two types of medical schools interviews. First is multiple mini interview, which is also known as MMI. And the second one is traditional interviews. So what exactly is multiple mini interview? MMIs are now used by large number of medical schools. They require candidate to face a series of situations, each testing for different quality. So these might involve interacting with patients, tackling ethical scenarios maybe, or problem solving. This is a structured and timed circuit. Students typically spend a few minutes at each station before rotating to the next. So there is an exact level depending on the medical school which you are applying to, and each station has a different focus. As we discussed that they will going to ask you about your different skills. That's what the multiple mini interview is. Now, when we talk about traditional interview, the traditional interview format involves being asked questions about your application and reason for wanting to study medicines by either one person or a panel. Now, a panel in which students should expect a number of interviews as well. So who will ask direct questions to you? A panel interview usually lasts around 20 minutes, but again, it depends on medical college to medical college. So these are the two types of interviews. Universities may ask you for both the interviews, or they may ask you for any of them. Your medical school interview will cover a broad range of topics, from explaining your background and motivation to study medicine, to commencing on current NHSA hot topics. They may ask you what are the hot topics currently. You can expect to cover a lot of background in the topics you discuss throughout. You can also expect the questions on depth and breadth of interest, your knowledge of medical school, your creativity and imagination, medical ethics, empathy, personal insight, teamwork, and work experience. I am covering in detail that what all these topics exactly are. So these are the types of interview questions which you may come across during your interview at medical college. So for example, motivation and a realistic approach to medicine as a career. The question could be based on this. They may ask you that why do you want to become a doctor? What does being a doctor mean to you? What do you think are the most difficult challenges of being a doctor? So these are the questions which you may come across when it comes to motivational and a realistic approach to medicine as a career, these type of questions. They may question you on your work experience. Maybe they can ask you what work experience or volunteer work have you done? They may ask you what did you learn about yourself by volunteering? Or how were you affected by this experience? So these are the few questions which can be asked in the work experience section. Ability to deal with stressful situation and multitask. So how do you deal with stressful situation? How do you prioritize when you have a lot on? So these are the questions which will explain how you deal with actually stressful and situation and how you multitask. Communication skills and teamwork. Much of your communication skills are based on your answer to other questions. However, you should also consider the following questions, which you can see that tell me about a time when you demonstrate teamwork. Have you ever disagreed with another student or teacher? What makes you a good team member or a team leader? Universities also ask for ethical awareness and hot topics in healthcare, as I mentioned before. So it is very important to understand or to keep reading on the publications and different topics which are related to healthcare when you're going for the interview. As far as the ethical questions are concerned, they may ask you, can you tell me about a medically related book or article which you have read recently? Or they may ask you were the junior doctors right to strike? These are the ethical questions they may ask you. Empathy and insight. What is the difference between empathy and sympathy? And what is important to you? Likely contributing to university life. They want to understand what extracurricular activities you are part of, how you will going to contribute to their community. What are your hobbies and interests? Your general interview questions, university questions could be your impression of this university from our open days. I mean, how you feel fit that this university is fit for you. They may ask you self-directed learning questions as well, that how you get motivated. So can you give an example wherein you have shouldered extra responsibility? So there are so many questions and there are these different types of examples which you have to consider while preparing yourself for interview. It is very important that you look at all these aspects and prepare the questions which are related to these particular topics. Coming up to how to select your colleges. Herein I have taken the example of 4 different medical colleges, and I have considered the factors which you should consider before shortlisting your college. So we have discussed in beginning as well that there are universities who are looking for UCAT, there are few universities who are looking for BMAT. There are different requirements for A-level school students, there are different requirements for American school students. So you have to thoroughly look at to the university website to understand that is this the college right fit for you or not. Now, the first factor here in the applications per year. So if you look at Cambridge, there are 1400 plus application. Glasgow has 2000 plus application. Bristol has 4500 plus application. And King's College London has again 4500 application. Now, how many applications these university gets and what is the acceptance rate or acceptance of the students per year? That also will give you a right understanding of that how much chances do you hold to get into this university. So consider the acceptance acceptance students, number of students, and what is the success ratio that you have to look at. If you're looking for a foundation program, then you should also look at the university offering this program or not. Like Cambridge doesn't offer foundation program, but Glasgow, Bristol, King's College London, they do offer. Then I have considered the example of A levels. You also have to, based on your curriculum, IB, American, CBSE, you have to look at the requirement for your own curriculum. Universities specify on their website that what are the subjects required to apply for medicines program. So you can see that Cambridge is having the requirement of chemistry and one of the biology, physics, maths. Most applicants have at least 3 science and mathematics. Glasgow, on the other hand, is chemistry and mathematics or physics or biology. So check out what kind of subjects, what all subjects requirement are there. The second thing is the grades, your percentage. I mean, what university's academic criteria is. So if you can see all these universities, Cambridge is asking for 2 A stars and 1 A, and other universities are so as King's College London and Glasgow and Bristol are okay with 3 A's. There are further details which are mentioned by Glasgow, like is 3 A2 examination to 1 sitting. If biology not taken at A levels, then must be A grade at AS level. So you have to check these requirements in detail. UCAT and BMAT. Is the university asking for UCAT or they're asking for BMAT? For Cambridge, for example, Cambridge is asking for BMAT, not UCAT, but rest of the 3 universities are asking for UCAT, not BMAT. You can also look at, this is the additional information, though it's not a criteria for shortlisting the university, because interview, whatever universities will going to conduct, you should go ahead with that. So there are information mentioned on the websites that what are their interview style. You will also find the information on what kind of questions they ask every year to different students. So check out that interview style for Cambridge is like traditional interview. Though on KCL is like MMI interviews. So you have to check that. Last but not the least, fee structure, which is again very important. So check out that what is the fee structure for each and every university, because in the end you have to manage, you and your parents have to mention the financial part of it as well. Now, application process and the timeline. So you can apply, the application is done through UCAS, which only allows you to submit the application for either 5 colleges or 5 programs. So you can select 2 colleges for 1 college for 2 programs as well. So it's up to you, or you can choose 1 program and apply to 5 universities. But out of those 5 colleges, you can only consider 4 colleges for medicines program, and the 5th college you may consider for any other program or maybe biological sciences related program, so that if in case by any chance that's the last option for you, you still have the option for graduate entry. The deadline to apply for medicines program is 15th of October. You have to submit your application by 15th of October. Otherwise, you will not be eligible to apply for medicines program in UK. There are few universities who are having direct application for foundation year program. If any of you are looking for foundation year or want to apply through that path, those universities are having direct application system. So you can look at those universities as well. Interviews, they are conducted between the month of November and March. So it varies from university to university. Like I have shared, Bristol starts its interviews in November, though Cambridge starts in December. So the different universities are having different timeline to conduct the interviews. I guess that's it. So any questions? If anybody is having any question, they can ask.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Pramod. I wanted to know, do you prepare for these all things, the Princeton review?
Yeah, we at a Princeton Review, we prepare for UCAT exam. As I mentioned, if you're looking for you in the UK, then UCAT would be the more, beneficial exam to go for. So we do prepare for that. I will share the information. This is the email ID, sir. You can drop an email to us, and we will going to help you with an in-depth details of our courses.
Okay, okay. And this 30-minute consultation is at your office, huh?
Right now it's going on online, sir, because of this pandemic. So we
Okay.
can connect with you online in this particular situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything else I
thank
can
you.
help you with, sir? Okay, sure, sir. Shravan has asked, can UCAS be taken multiple times? UCAS or UCAT? No. UCAT, it can be taken multiple times, but I would recommend you to get a desired score in one go itself.
And it can be taken only once a year.
Only
So
once?
in
I'm
one
so
year,
sorry, Puneet. Okay.
yeah.
Sahashri, what IB math is required? Math requirement is high level. Math requirement is there, Sahashri. But again, see, you can check the universities. Each and every university will detail you. There must be some kind of substitute to it, if in case. But yes, most of the universities would be required HL math. Do 4 A levels take an advantage? Yes, definitely, because again, when I shared that the more you are challenging with the courses, the better you will showcase your academic ability. So 4 A levels will definitely be an advantage, but I would say that the important is that your performance in those A levels, because UK universities mostly they first, when they are scanning your application, they'll consider your academics. Any other question? Is it worth to take an extra A's? Will it improve the application? I think I have already covered MET. It would work, but your performance should not go down. You should aim for, most of the medical colleges, you should aim for 3 A's when you are doing A levels. If by any chance B comes, that's 1 B may be considered, but very few universities. I've already shared, there are so many UK universities, but only 33 to 37 medical colleges are there who accept you as an international student. You have checked the requirement for many schools. They ask for 1 A star, 2 A stars, and A's. So consider it accordingly. Is there any age limit to apply to any of these universities, or no of attempts to apply? Yes, there is age limit for few of the universities. You also have to look at that. No attempt to apply, number of attempts to apply means, no, you can apply if you are applying this year, but there is no point applying wherein you are not eligible for. So you can submit UCAS this next year, and if you don't get through, you can work on your profile and can submit UCAS next year as well. Will there be an advantage if I don't take math for A level? They have given you different substitutes. There are sciences subjects, and you can consider either or kind of thing. But again, you have to check each and every university specifically. Any other questions? Okay. So if in case you have any questions, I would say specifically related to your curriculum, your profile, you want to understand how you can work on your application, just drop an email to this particular email ID and we will connect with you and guide you on one-on-one. As I mentioned, we also prepare the students for UCAT exam. So if in case you are interested in that, you can connect with us and we will help you with this. Thank you so much all for your time. Shravan, what about scholarships? Scholarships are also available based on it's merit based. Cambridge, Oxford are having separate application process. So you can also avail scholarships as well. Thank you so much all.